Daniel Alba! On Thursday, during the Nintendo Direct, Nintendo just decided that they wanted to revive F-Zero, and it's been dead for 20 years. And they did it in the form of a Battle Royale as part of the 99 series, kind of similar to Tetris and Pac-Man and Mario 35. Apart from, unlike those games have you playing in a single field, and you're sending things to other players. Whereas this one, you're all just jammed together in one big race. And boy, it makes sense, because that's kind of what F-Zero has always been. They've just times the amount of races by 3, and they've put it online. And I'm happy. Are you happy?
I am overjoyed to see what we have here. Like, F-Zero 99 is probably one of the best games to come out this year. Like, the format of F-Zero works really well with the 99 formula, and it leads into that chaotic factor. And it's like, with every 99 game, you're just kind of watching your opponent in a window, and you attack them from afar. But this takes the aggressive nature of F-Zero, and it has you physically hitting and ramming into your opponents. And the game also rewards you for being aggressive, as the series tends to. So really, it's one of the best fits to turn into a 99 game. I've been playing it as much as I can between doing everything else this weekend, and it's just great to see people talking about F-Zero again.
I can't stop thinking about it. I'm thinking about it at all times. I was at the Sonic Symphony on Saturday, and while they were playing the songs, I was like, man, I could be playing F-Zero right now. This would be good music to play to. It's just so addictive. I've always been an F-Zero fan. I've played all the games apart from Climax. And I have my favorites, but I don't think I've loved one this much. And I think people, they think you're crazy for saying it, but I think this is my favorite F-Zero game. It's so addictive. Maybe it's because it's the only one with online play, but I think all the supplements of its online features just, like, they feed into this constant loop. You're constantly, you're trying to get first, but it doesn't even matter if you don't, because if you come like top 20, you feel good because you've beaten 80 other people. And as you were saying, there are all these layers. You can destroy other people's vehicles, which gives you back your boost power. You can try and save up those orbs, which lets you go on the Skyroad. Like, there's all these different avenues of depth, but really, if you're a skilled racer, you don't necessarily need that stuff. You can stay in first place the entire time, but there's the luck factor, which comes with 99, just the series, that really just lets anybody have a chance of winning. And it's that factor of luck is just what adds to the addiction. Like, sometimes you barely make second place that you could just about make first. You're like, I gotta do that again. And that's just how I always feel playing this game. No matter how well I do, I just want another round. Just one more round. Just one more round.
Yeah, it's so easy to just go back into another one, especially when I think this one respects your time a lot more. Like, I mean, you mentioned this in your video, but Pac-Man 99 is kind of formulaic. Like, you kind of know what to do every time you start the game, and it kind of becomes predictable that way. And Mario 35, like, you could last for a long time with your final players if you know what you're doing. But with F-Zero, like, you know how long your races are going to be. They're kind of a set time for these races, and they could be even shorter depending if you actually crash out or not. And I also appreciate, by the way, that you're racing for 4 laps and not 5 like in the original. I think it's a nice, perfect number for this formula that they have going on here.
There's quite a lot of changes between this and the original. I went back to play it just for a form of reference. And like, if you were under the impression that this is just a Super Nintendo game, it's not. Like, it looks like it. It might actually look how your memories remember it, but it doesn't even look like it, to be honest, because the original kind of, it looked like it was sort of rendering the track as it came, that you couldn't really see into the distance. But because 99 is actually in full 3D, but sort of mirroring the look of sprites, you can see way off. But even the general feel, turns feel different. You've got the spin from F-Zero X in there, so it's taken from later in the series. And even the boost is from X. Because, like, the way you boosted in the Super Nintendo game was you had no boost for the first lap, and then every time you go over the finish line, you get 1 boost, and that's all you get. And it doesn't deplete from your meter, it's just an independent thing. Your meter's just your health in the original. Whereas now it's gone back to what X did, where you basically, you have your boost, and that will take away from your meter. So you've got to have that risk-reward of, like, is my health worth the sacrifice to get ahead a little bit? So I kind of view this as a completely original F-Zero, just wearing the skin of the first one.
There's a lot of factors of this game that borrows from those games. Yeah. It was back then. Boost was called the Super Jet. You could stack up to 3 of them if you wanted to stack 3 for some reason. You would just use them in the same places, honestly. And it felt weird because there was no, like, risk reward or that feedback back then in the original. Like, the foundation was really solid, And if you go back to the original, like there's barely any differences in the way you control. It's a bit tighter now. I appreciate that when you go into the energy recovery zone, that little machine that hovers over you, it takes a moment to actually start healing you. It's a little bit faster in the 99 formula, and I wish it was instantaneous like it was in future titles. But it really does borrow a lot of that DNA and does combine with other games as well, like you mentioned. The spin attack, like they turn that into an attack and defense. So you're using that along with balancing whether you want to spend your energy, risk or reward, and especially with your other cars that have other attributes that will contribute to your race as well. Like there's some that will recover faster, there's some that are a bit more tanky and durable, and they're pretty much the same exact attributes they had from the Super Nintendo, and that actually lends itself really well to this formula where, like, even if you choose any one of these four that you choose, you have a chance at winning. There's nothing that's like, oh, this is too slow for me. It's just a matter of preference in the end of the day.
Yeah, I found when I first started, I was definitely crashing a lot. And then I tried using a vehicle which charges faster, because I was using the Blue Falcon, which is like sort of an all-rounder. But there's another vehicle which basically you'll go to any charge station and you'll pretty much max out. And I was getting better luck with that, and I sort of learned how the mechanics felt, like just getting a new feel for this version's controls. And that helped a lot. And then I started going for one which doesn't really charge fast at all, but has great speed. And that's what I'm kind of using now. I really like that. And I like what you're saying too about the spin, because sometimes you completely lose your meter. And there's nothing more thrilling than having no meter at all, being really far into the lead. And like coming right up to the finish line, you're smoking, other vehicles are approaching you, and you just about time it right that you can spin, they can hit you, and you'll be totally fine. It is such a good feeling victory when that happens.
It's, oh my gosh, the best thing to do that I always did in F-Zero X, F-Zero GX, is that when you run out of energy and you hit a wall or a car or another car, like you're flying forward still, you have that momentum. So that little space in between where you're exploding and then you actually do blow up, like you're still considered a racer. So I would always use that momentum, and sometimes you can use that to get that final boost going forward if you're going fast enough. So you can like crash out and you're flying forward. I've seen really crazy speedrun tactics where you can like fly forward with that momentum and cross the finish line. You can't do that in this version because you'll just crash immediately. But it's cool that they do add that kind of factor where you can do like that last flare of a spin attack towards the end of the race.
Yeah.
And just that feeling as well, where you hit somebody and then you get that KO. You completely refill your meter.
Right.
Not just refill it, it also extends further. I didn't realize that at first. It goes higher than what it normally would be. And then that just feeds into the aggressive nature of F-Zero, because they want you to be aggressive. They want you to get out there and play not just defensively, but also attack your opponents, because this is a game that continuously rewards you for being mean to your opponents.
Yeah. There's two different types of vehicles. There's the sort of silver CPU ones, and if you like destroy them, you get a tiny refill, but not much. But I think it does still extend your meter. But if you get another player, you completely get your gauge back, and it's really cool when that happens, like the final lap, because you can just go ham with the boost and not worry about anything. That's sort of another like feeding back into the luck factor. Sometimes you can just luck your way into a victory, and I feel like even a novice player has a chance of winning, which is, that's awesome. But this game as it is right now is still in its early days. We only have one cup, and you can access some other tracks. If you do a Grand Prix, there is a 5th track, and you can also do the Pro tracks, which gives you 2 other ones in the rotation. But there isn't a whole lot of track variety right now. Although, even with that, I'm not feeling like I'm going through the motions. I've played this game for like 20 hours now, and I don't feel sick of these tracks. I feel like I'm just learning them better and better each time. And another layer to learning them is learning when to use the Skyroad. Because you can get more use out of that depending on when you use it. If you're going around a turn, it won't just plop you down. It won't just it won't just put you down in the middle of a curve. It will just take you all the way around it. So sometimes, depending on where you use it, you can get like another 5 seconds out of the Skyroad, which is really beneficial. There's so many layers into learning things. And like, how do you feel right now, though? Like, do you feel bored of Mute City and Big Blue, or is it just, do you just feel familiar with those?
No, like even the fact that the voters tend to pick Mute City or Big Blue
They do.
most, even if there's like Sand Ocean or Silencer on there. Like even then, I'm not tired of it yet because I'm still gradually learning what's the best place that I can, use the Skyroad, because there are, in fact, there are areas that are more beneficial to use that than others. It's pretty much like the bullet bill in Mario Kart 8. There's spots where you can use the bullet, and the game is coded to not drop you off in certain locations. So there are spots where you can actually use that. Except I think this is a lot more fair than than the bullet bill, because the further back that you are, like the more you're going to be getting those sparks to get them, because there's obviously a lot more racers that are hitting each other. If you're further ahead, there's not really as many opportunities to get those sparks. And so they also drop that golden bumper as well to help other players behind get that boost ahead. So it's really smartly made and crafted so that beginner players or people that are more experienced with the game who are further behind can still get that chance to get up ahead. But yeah, this entire loop, I haven't gotten tired of it yet, even though there's only like 5 or 6 tracks to race on.
Yeah,
but it's been crazy to see people enjoying it like this.
The Skyroad's really beneficial for those in the top 10 as well, because if you're in first place, you're unlikely to really get any of those orbs because you're in the lead. No one's crashing. You're not really collecting anything. So the person in first place has to be skilled. They've got to be avoiding all those bombs. They can't get any orbs. They really have to rely on their driving prowess. But if you're like in the 10, there's a chance you can fill your meter up while you're pretty close to the lead. And that's going to guarantee you a win if you're the only one doing that. And I'm pretty sure maybe 5 out of my 6 victories have just been me using the Skyroad while near the end of the course, while pretty high in the pack. So if you're struggling to win, I'd say just hold on to that meter. Don't use it straight away. Wait for the right moment to pull that off. Now, when it comes to the future of this game, we know that more Super Nintendo Cups are coming. I don't think we know when, but they are in the game already. It's just a case of when the server's going to unlock them. But there's also been data mines in F-Zero 99. And there have been some tracks in there. They look like placeholders, so there's no telling whether these are actually going to come to the game or not. But one of them is a Satellaview track in the title, and the others are brand new. So it could have just been for testing. It could have been testing purposes. This might not be stuff we ever see. But there's also a very high chance that once they've given us all the Super Nintendo tracks, there might be more stuff, some original stuff.
Yeah, as a slight tangent to that, I think so every track starts off differently with like their huge wide area, and they funnel you into the main track.
Yeah.
My favorite has to be Sand Ocean, because in that one you see they're split into 2 halves. One half you see them jump over you.
Yeah. And so they go 2 different directions.
Yeah, and then you jump over that half, and I think that's the designers having fun with the fact that there is room to make creative designs that's unique to this game itself, and that made me realize how much I love the creativity of the tracks of F-Zero, and I'm wondering how they can push this in future updates. Like, could we see tracks adapted from other F-Zero games possibly? Tracks that help to push the 3D future, the futuristic technology we had of the N64 back then, that pushed the 3D further. Like using anti-gravity and loops. Big Blue on F-Zero X was the first track to use that cylinder that racers drive around the circumference of. Like, could we see something like that adapted into the Super Nintendo Mode 7 style? That'd be a really cool way to further push the visual identity of this game, along with tracks that we would already see from Super Nintendo and the Satellaview. That'd be awesome to see those too.
I mean, Luigi Blood did a bunch of data mines, and they figured out this is running on the Mario Odyssey engine. So the one that was used for 3D World and Odyssey, yeah. I think it's just because it's made by Nintendo Software Technology, and they ported Captain Toad, and I think they're just familiar with the engine. But there's also a scrapped, fully 3D layout for Mute City, which is probably another testing thing. But it does mean that what they've made can support, like, fully a polygon look. So there is potential. There is potential that you could get extracts in here. There's also potential like New Donk City if it's the Odyssey engine. Yeah, that'd be nuts. But one thing that I really want to see is something that Tetris did. So Tetris, I think a few months after launch, had a big update. There was a free update which gave you a password system. So if you want to play with friends, you can just share the same password and be matched together, guaranteed. There's also brand new modes that were free. It gave like Team Battle. It gave you a bunch of other things. And to be fair to F-Zero, there's already other modes in here like Team Battle. But one thing that I loved was DLC, that's a weird thing to say, but it gave you an offline mode. It preserved the game forever. You could just play Tetris 99 with CPUs if you wanted to. I think it also added local as well. So having all of that in F-Zero would be delightful. And one final thing Tetris did was it put all of that on a physical cartridge. So you could buy Tetris 99, get a cartridge, have the DLC on it, and the whole point, like, that doesn't sound too appealing, but it also comes with the Switch Online subscription for a year. So for basically the price of 1 year, you'd get all of Tetris's DLC and a physical box. And I want exactly that for F-Zero. I want to see a friend update. I want a physical version of the game. I want it preserved forever. And I have a feeling it's going to happen.
Yeah, because I'm also afraid because of the format. Because now, as we know, the 99 formula doesn't last forever in all cases, and so I want to make sure that in some way this stays preserved because it's a new F-Zero game. It's one of the only F-Zero games actual F-Zero games that we've had in a long time, not just teasing it like Captain Falcon's training course, whatever the heck that was.
The Nintendo Land one.
Yeah.
But it's mentioned in live audience, does practice mode not have CPUs? I don't believe it does, but when you first start the game up, before you can actually get online, you've got to do F-Zero 25, F-Zero 50, and then F-Zero 99, and that's done against CPUs. So clearly CPUs work. It's just a case of just give us a dedicated mode to that.
Yeah, they're definitely a function in the game, and I think if there's ever like any empty spots, they also get filled with CPUs as well, which is only like barely a couple or so because every game is like packed already. So that does exist in the game. I think that just has further credence that this will be something that happens in the future, and whether or not it gets a physical release, I hope it does because I too want that. I want that bad.
We'll obviously see how populated this game is in a few months, but as of right now, no matter what time it is, I can always just find a full game. I click on F-Zero 99, and suddenly, like, I wait maybe 2 seconds and it just fills up. And I said this in the previous video, but I thought it was really clever how it did its sub-modes. Because in Tetris, there were other modes, but people just play Tetris 99. And so I really like that they rotate things around. Because you might not... Like, if Team Battle were a dedicated mode, I don't think people would be using it that often. But because it's like a timed event that's sort of rotating through these other events, people do gravitate to it. And that really makes the Grand Prix special too. Because you got to save up your vouchers to even like participate in it. And so when the time comes along, you probably aren't going to do a regular F-Zero 99 race. You're going to go straight to the Grand Prix. And I don't think that would be the case if it were just a full-on mode that was always there.
Yeah, that's something I thought was really cool that I didn't really expect. I thought it would just be mostly just the 99 races, and it probably could have been for its release, and people would still be really into it. But to have actual traditional Grand Prix in this as well is just so cool. Like they even implement rivals the same way that they do in other games as well. Like if you're near somebody in rank, in a 99 race, you'll have rivals up against you to kind of encourage you to beat your rivals, obviously. But then in the 99 race, or the Grand Prix, it works the same way it does in the other F-Zero games, where the ones that are closest to you in points are your rivals. So that'll change depending on what race you're doing, and that's just so cool to have that involved in there.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool twist. And like, very few online races do Grand Prix. Like it's usually just one-off races. And they should do it really well here because there's always a risk of even surviving. And not only that, but each race drops players with each round. So you can't be, like if you're on the fourth round, you cannot be in like 40th place. Otherwise you're just going to be taken out. You always have to be boosting ahead. And that just adds to the stakes. Let's address something that's probably a big fear for many players. Will F-Zero 99 be here in 2 years?
Oh dear. Well, this is like a test. Nintendo wants to see how active this game is. They want to see how many people are actually playing this game. Because obviously Tetris 99 is still healthy. It's still going. But Mario 35, for whatever reason, that one's not... I swear people were playing that more, but Nintendo just pulled the plug on it.
It was very populated, but it was part of that nonsense year where they... like 3D All-Stars sold over 10 million, and that got delisted.
Yeah.
They just lost their minds that year.
They listed that. They listed Mario 35. They listed Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. How could they?
Completely original localization. Yeah.
how they do this. But yeah, Pac-Man. How long has Pac-Man been around? Because that service is about to end as well.
2 years, I believe. But Pac-Man was published by Bandai Namco. Like Nintendo, it's developed by Eureka, who developed the other 99 games. Well, actually, NST did this one, but the Eureka did Tetris, they did Pac-Man, they did Mario. So it's the same developer as those ones, but it technically doesn't have anything to do with Nintendo outside of the subscription. So I do wonder if that means anything. Like, was this a Namco call to delist this game?
That's what I've been wondering as well. Because, yeah, in 2 years, we won't be playing this on the Switch, potentially. Like, this will just be a service that carries over. If NSL carries over to the successor, which it probably will, we'll be playing this on a different system. And I hope that it stays healthy on that one as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not we get a physical release will tell us whether or not we'll be playing with actual other people in the future. But even if we don't, I want it preserved in some way or form. But as it is now, it's fun to find my friends just randomly finding me online as a rival or somewhere.
Our patron Vedran, I met him. He was a rival in a random race, and I messaged him like, "Was this you?" And it was.
Yeah. I was doing a stream just the other day, and I was able to, because there's no actual lobbies, they had to kind of just time it with me to join at the same time. And two of our patrons, Puppy Wuppy and Shellshock Prime, they continuously were rivals over and over, and they could, for some reason, they couldn't get on the same team as me. We kept doing team battles, and nobody would be on my team. We're always rivaling each other. So that was really a little fun factor. But yeah, just being able to join someone, that would add so much to the thing, especially in an era where streaming with big audiences is a thing. That'd be so cool. Yeah,
there's definitely room to build. I'm not fearful personally. I think if you look at the 99 series, you look at the track record, and you say half of them are shut down. This one's probably going to shut down too. I don't agree with that, though. I think that there's reasons that the other two did, not good reasons. Like Mario 35 should have kept going, and Pac-Man should have kept going too. But I think F-Zero is a first-party Nintendo game. It's value for their subscription service. There's no reason to shut it down, especially if the population does keep up. But even if it doesn't, what do they gain from shutting it down? And what would they gain for any of the other ones? True, but I think there were circumstances around them, whereas this one doesn't have that. So personally, I don't think this is going to shut down in 2 years. I don't think this is going to shut down in 5 years. I think this is going to keep going for a long time. Like any online Nintendo game does. Like, you can still play the Wii U games online. You can still play Mario Tennis Ultra Smash online if you want to. I don't personally see a reason why they would shut this down, and I'm not scared because of past precedents. But Daniel, so we like this game a lot. We like this game a lot. What does it mean though for the future of F-Zero?
I think that if this game performs to Nintendo's, like, there's like a threshold they want to see this perform to, and if it meets that, then they're going to consider, maybe people yelling about F-Zero for 20 years actually meant something, and they actually want to play a new entry into the series. Because, yeah, I think like a lot of people, I was a little disappointed that this wasn't a remaster of GX or its own thing on its own new entry, which I think maybe that's just something they can say for whatever happens on the next system, for the successor for the Switch, when they kind of test what online can be like for F-Zero. Like they testing to see how long people will stay in this, because right now it's the hot thing. People are going to be playing it a lot right now, but how much will this be performing a month from now, a few months from now, and then in the next year? And I'm hoping that at least from this initial reaction, Nintendo takes note and decides, yeah, well, you know what? Let's give F-Zero a shot. Let's give Miyamoto that new thing he wanted to have and iterate it and have it make a battle royale. Apparently that cleared the checklist to have this happen, and see what else we can do with this in the future. Because I think there's still a future for F-Zero. It never went away. They just had to grab onto it and do something with it. And I think they have something here that they can bounce off of.
It's a clever launchpad too, because there are vocal F-Zero fans out there, but I don't know if they are enough to sustain a commercial game. Like they say they want it, but they've never shown that really in the past. The Super Nintendo F-Zero did very well. It was a launch title. It was graphically pushing the boundaries of what tech could do. Every other F-Zero though has just sort of gradually done okay. And some of the GBA ones, particularly Climax, which was Japan exclusive, so of course it didn't do great. But the series never really had that big moment after the first game. And I think this is it. Because I am seeing people who've never talked about F-Zero, who've never played F-Zero, suddenly infatuated by it. Like Chrono Katie is a great example. She plays a ton of games. She hasn't played F-Zero before, and she has been tweeting non-stop about how much she loves this. And I think a lot of the audience for this game probably aren't F-Zero fans. Like, a lot of F-Zero fans had quite a negative reaction to it originally, but it's always populated. So even if you do see people quite down on it online, that is not the reality of the situation. People are playing it all the time. So are those people just a new audience? And if so, great, because that's exactly what F-Zero needs. So I do hope that when a new game comes along, all the people who kind of got a demo of, I guess if that's the right word, got to experience F-Zero through 99, just keep coming along for the series.
Yeah, I think what we were saying is right, because there are people. Now is the time for F-Zero fans to not just start playing it. Like the fan base is there, but the important thing is that it's growing. There's becoming more and more people that are being introduced because it's very clever. It's probably one of the best things that could have happened to F-Zero, because if you have NSO, you can just pick that up for free. You can check it out if you want to, see what everyone's talking about. Like you mentioned, people who aren't really into F-Zero are finding interest in having fun with it. Arlo just recently did a video as well saying how this probably isn't something that he would ever have picked up, but upon playing it, he had a good time with it. And that's what I want to see happen, is people just at least give it a shot. And then once you have that install base, once you have a grown fan base, they'll probably be asking for more. And then hopefully that demand will be met with a new title in the future. And that's probably the best outcome we can hope for at this point. So I'm praying for this. I'm praying for Captain Falcon here.
It's funny, it's like for the last 20 years, F-Zero has been Falcon Punch to a lot of people. It has been Captain Falcon's smash move set. And Captain Falcon's not even really in this game. There's no like avatars to play as. There's no characters you can choose. It is literally just you've got 4 vehicles. Captain Falcon from the manual is in the menu somewhere, but he's not. You can't play as him. They're probably putting the gameplay front and center, which I don't think they've ever done in these 20 years.
That's true. Oh my gosh, you mentioned the art. The art in this game, they brought back the manual comic art. They brought back Mr. Zero. He's there. They made new art for him. There's new art when he's doing you little tips.
He's the most prominent guy in this game. Yeah.
The man himself who said, "You got boost power," and the final lap. He's the one. That's the guy.
That's the guy.
But it's so cool to like see these characters in the forefront. And as you mentioned, like pretty much F-Zero back in the day, it was just the machines. You didn't really see Captain Falcon at all, unless you open up the manual. But now there's like a face to these characters. There's a face to the announcer, and Captain Falcon obviously hasn't really had a shot to shine outside of Smash Brothers in so long. So it's great to see these characters have a chance, and hopefully in the future we'll see even just more of that. I mean, maybe they'll add more racers, even they'll add more profiles and such. There's a lot they can add to this, and I'm looking forward to see what the future of this the F-Zero Grand Prix will hold for us. But yeah,
it's nice to be hopeful. We haven't had hope with F-Zero for a very long time. I think this was the best possible outcome, because not only is it growing the audience, but it's just a new idea, a new very addictive idea. I can't put this game down, and I don't think I'm going to put this game down for a long time. It might even be my favorite game this year. I've been racking my head about that. Because, of course, this year's been full of great games, but I don't think anything has just had the pure moment-to-moment addiction that F-Zero has. It's just a constant joy. And it inevitably will lead to something else. I'll be shocked if in the next 5 years there isn't a brand new F-Zero. But if they gave us just a GX HD remaster, I don't think that would have anywhere near this effect. I think the core fans would buy it. I think that would be about it, and I'm not sure that would lead to anything else after that. Whereas this, it is a double whammy of being a very good game, a very good idea. It pushes their subscription, which I'm sure they're happy with, and it also just makes F-Zero more of a thing. So yeah, I think this was one of the coolest announcements they could do this year, and probably the most important thing to happen to F-Zero since the very first game.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's so much about this that I want to go back to. Like, you can just get more skins for your car, more decals. I want to personalize, I want to customize, get these badges. You can know the whole personalization is a factor. And there's a bunch of little factors that just make you want to come back to it. You do one more Grand Prix, or a mini Grand Prix, or a team battle. You can earn these rewards per racer as well, so that keeps you coming back for more and trying other ones, which I've learned that there's some machines that I just can't jive with as well as others, and it's a whole learning process, and I hope other people can grow to learn and to love F-Zero the way we have throughout the years since we played it since, I don't know, the SNES or since F-Zero X days.
Yeah. And there's also chances that it takes Tetris's cross-promo stuff, so maybe we'll get, like, character-themed cars. With, like, if Mario Wonder's coming up, we get, like, a Wonder Flower-looking car or something. I don't know, something. I think that would be
something.
Cool. I saw, I forget his name. His name is actually, like, bunch of numbers. It's not just a bunch of numbers. That's, like, the literal name of this guy. But he got, like, over 100 wins already. And, like, he prefaced that bit by saying something like, I'm doing all right. I think I'm all right. I'm kind of average. Like, that's how we felt about him. He's got like 100 wins. No way. Yeah, so there's definitely, if you are skilled, you can pretty much win every time. But it's nice to have that balance of skill and luck. But well, yeah, I think we should probably start to wrap this thing up. F-Zero is back. That is the main takeaway. It's back, and it's never been this popular. And we are very excited for the future. Daniel, give us one last thing before we go.
Show me your moves.
Show us your moves. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Till we meet again.